pleasant morning to everyone. My name is Nikki, and today my agenda is to be able to answer the questions from the rooms division. The first question is about what do you think is the primary responsibility of rooms division in operations of hotel? Discuss how the four departments involved in rooms division help them in achieving their goals. Rooms division has four departments under it. It is the front office, the housekeeping. These two are the major departments under rooms division, and the other two is the security and maintenance. These four departments helps the rooms division to achieve its goal by its every function. For example, the front office, its function is to be able to handle the guests wherein they're checking in and checking out, and also the settlements for their bills is in the front office, which we can say the front office is the revenue generating here. And also the housekeeping department, wherein in housekeeping they're the ones who settles the rooms for its cleanliness and its great functions. Especially rooms are important because it is our main product when it comes to selling into our customers or guests. For the security here, it is important in order for the guests to assure and also the hotel the main secureness of the guests once they've checked in and also their in-stay, and also for the convenience of the hotel for maintaining a smooth transactions every time a guest is in staying in their hotel. As for the maintenance, they're the ones who's responsible in making the support when it comes to the housekeeping, wherein they're the ones who's fixing the out of order when it comes to rooms, for example, the air conditions, or the maintenance when it comes to the facilities and etc. In order to achieve the goal of the hotel in generating revenues, making sales, these four departments is very essential to be settled, that every department is very functional because the rooms division is the main representative of these four departments, wherein these rooms division department, they're the ones who handles the final decision when it comes to things. As for our second question, we have the explain the general goals set by the management for housekeeping, discuss why occupancy is a key factor of controlling the department's expenses. When it comes to housekeeping department, their main goal is to generally manage their department by having these three main points. The first one is the hotel is at all times clean and fresh. The second one is the housekeeping payrolls is in the line of hotel occupancy. And the third thing is the operating expenses are in line with hotel occupancy. Let's discuss first the hotel is all times clean and fresh. In the housekeeping department, it is their main goal to maintain the rooms, the facilities in hotel clean and fresh. It is in order for them to give their jobs a defined definition of itself, which is housekeeping. It is by maintaining the cleanliness and providing a great service by making your products clean, which the main products of the hotel are the rooms itself and also the facilities. That's why their responsibility is to maintain all things clean and also neatly done as well. And as for our second goal in housekeeping, the housekeeping payroll is in line with the hotel occupancy. It all just means that the manager in housekeeping department manages how many peoples or employees are will be given in a day a job, because if the occupancy is high and you let your employees get in with lower numbers of housekeeping attendants, there will be a possibility of having a slow service, wherein if you have high occupancy, you must also have a higher rate of numbers of employees getting a job in that day if the demand is high. But if the demand of having the occupancy of that day is low, you must also have a just minimal numbers of employees that is getting into the job that day. Their main goal is to be able to pay an employee which is functional, and if there is an instance that the manager doesn't manage well the numbers of his or her employees in that day with the number of occupancy, there is a possibility of too much cost for the hotel paying employees, because if the manager let the employees to have many numbers to get in the job with that day but having a lower number of occupancy, it would just add to the cost of the hotel. And lastly, the operating expenses are in line with the hotel occupancy. This means that when it comes to operations of the people, the operations when it comes to the services, the products, it would always matter with the hotel occupancy, because the main goal of the hotel is to be able to get a revenue by having a lower cost or lower numbers of costs in their production, but also giving the right standards and quality when it comes to their services. And as for the follow-up question, which is occupancy is a key factor in controlling the department's expenses. Yes, it is true. Why? It is because when it comes to occupancy, it defines the number of rooms being sold in that day. That which is the main goal is to be able to balance the number of labors that is needed for that day. If the occupancy is high, there is a possibility of getting more profits or revenues in that day. That having a more revenue, you'll be able to pay more numbers or balanced numbers of employees depending upon its occupancy. If it's high and also the occupancy is high, there is also a need for a high demand for the numbers of labor to the employees to meet the standards or great quality of service. But if it's low, there is also a chance of having a minimal numbers of labor for employees needs in that day. In which in occupancy, it defines the demand of numbers of labors needed in a particular day depending upon the demand in the occupancy of the hotel. Now, moving along with the third question, we have the discuss the three important hotel metrics. How do we compute for them? How are they related to one another in concept? Is only fully booked hotel guaranteed of a high revenue? So, let's answer this one by one, okay? So, first, when it comes to hotel metrics, we have the occupancy percentage. Second one is the ADR or the average daily rate. And the third one is the RevPAR. So when it comes to occupancy percentage, it defines the percentage of available rooms sold during a specific time period. So here, our main formula in getting occupancy percentage is rooms sold over rooms available times 100. The main goal when it comes to occupancy percentage is to be able to know the status of the numbers of occupancy or rooms sold in the hotel, which it defines on how many occupied rooms is being done or being get into that certain time of period. So now, as for the second hotel metric, we have the average daily rate, or also known as ADR. In here, it defines the measures of average rate paid for rooms sold during the period of time. In ADR, to be able to generate, we have the formula of having revenue over demand or room sold. The main goal of ADR is to be able to know or to monitor on how many numbers of revenue or profits are we really having in that particular day. It is in order for the manager or the management to manage if they're really having a great numbers of profit or they're losing numbers of possibilities of getting higher profits. That's why we get ADR in order to monitor and maintain this great status of hotels revenue when it comes to selling the rooms. In here, sometimes the managers base their strategies when it comes to the front office selling. For example, if they're selling too much regular rooms and having a lower number of revenues, in checking the ADR, they'll be able to know that they're having low revenues. That's why they'll be having a chance to change their strategy and get into sell the higher profitable rooms, which for example the suite rooms, they'll ask or task their front office agents to sell a higher or upgrade rooms rather than regulars, because there is a possibility of having a lower revenue in that particular of time. So here, as for the third hotel metrics, we have the RevPAR. It defines and measures the revenue that is generated by the property in terms to each room available. The main formula here to generate RevPAR is revenue over supply. The main idea here of RevPAR is to be able to assess the hotel's ability in filling their available rooms at an average rate. It is also their property in RevPARs to increase the numbers or means of average rooms or occupancy rates increasing. And also it is important because it helps hoteliers measure overall success of their hotel. As we discussed the three hotel metrics, the occupancy percentage, the ADR, and also the RevPAR, its main goal is to help the managers or the heads when it comes to handling and monitoring the runs of their occupancies, the numbers of their profits, and also the stability of their operations in that particular of period of time, in which these three hotel metrics helps the hotel to know how their stands in having the services, if they provide great service, and as well as if they are having a great numbers of revenues as well. that using these three hotel metrics, the managers would be able to have a more credible or sensible acts of decisions when it comes to having a strategy in selling their rooms in order to have greater occupancy numbers and also greater numbers of revenues in that particular period of time. So here, as for the follow-up question, is a fully booked hotel guaranteed a high revenue? Um, no, I would say it, because not all the time having a great number of occupancy or selling rooms will give you great numbers of revenue, because if you sold too many numbers of regular rooms rather than having the special rooms or the suite rooms, there is a greater chance of having a full number of occupancy, but the numbers of your revenue is being lesser percentage. But if you, for example, you had a chance of getting a sold of numbers of rooms that has higher rates and also high numbers of possible of revenues and profits, there is a possibility of having a higher revenue in that period of time. It is because it will always matter with that strategy that the managers will implement in that particular day. That even though there is a lower number of occupancy, but the rates that you've being sold of numbers to the guests, it will always matter with the numbers of payments or the numbers of profits, not in the numbers of occupancy in the certain hotel. So moving on, we have the fourth question. What are the different types of maintenance activities done by the engineering department? How beneficial are those activities in generating revenue? In engineering department, their main activities that is being done or implemented is giving it into three parts, which is having a preventive maintenance and also a routine maintenance and an emergency maintenance. In here, in preventive maintenance, their main goal of engineering department is to be able to prolong the life of the equipments, the facilities. For example, a once aircon is being broken, their job is to fix it by having to make it more functional again. It is wherein they're maintaining the great services. It is wherein their job is to maintain, to prolong the equipment, and also lower the cost of the hotel when it comes to having more equipments or buying another one equipments. So as for the second maintenance, we have the routine maintenance, which is main goal is to perform a continual basis, or which means in here this type of maintenance, they're just making a maintenance when it comes to equipments or facilities. For example, when it comes to aircon again, it is needed to be always be cleaned every day in order to lessen the possibility of making it broken, because it would also cost time if they're being able to fix it. But if they maintain their job to always check it and clean it in a particular daily basis, it would be more helpful for them and also to the hotel itself. And as for the last maintenance, we have the emergency maintenance, wherein it is a situation wherein it is a need for an urgent response. For example, a once guest get into their room and has a broken faucet, there is a possibility to call a maintenance and help them to fix it urgently. This particularly happen once a guest gets into a call to the front office and asks for something into the hotel to fix it up about the equipments or facilities in their room. As we say, this particular three maintenance that is being done by the engineering, it is very essential and also helping in generating revenue because once we maintain our equipments, our facilities more functional, there will be a possibility of not having too much cost in the end because your equipments will have a longer life of being functional rather than being broken. It is where the main goal of hotel is to lesser the cost that they're be getting into the hotel. That's why they having a maintenance of their equipments to give it a way of maintaining a great equipments as well and also a great service in the same time. And now we're down to the fifth question, which is the last question. It is about the explain relationship between the guest cycle or hotel operational cycle to the administrative guest cycle. So before getting into the relation of guest cycle or hotel operational cycle to the administrative cycle, I'll be giving an idea about what is a guest cycle or hotel cycle or hotel operational cycle is. The hotel operational cycle is about the perspective on how guests gets into the process of their um, pre-arrival, their in-stay, their departure, and post-departure in the hotel. And when it comes to administrative um, guest cycle, it is wherein the perspective of the employees or the hotel, wherein we get into the process of the guest's reservation, registration, guest accounting, checkout, and night audit. That is the most difference between of them because the guest cycle is the perspective of the guests when it comes to their process in going to the hotel and departuring afterwards. And when it comes to administrative guest cycle, it is the perspective of the employees or hoteliers of the hotel wherein the process of the guests from starting from reservation until to the night audit is being done or defined. The relation between guest cycle and administrative guest cycle is it has the similar flow, but the difference between them is the being categorized by its main functions in running all the process. For example, when it comes to the guest cycle, it has a pre-arrival, in which in administrative it has a registration process. It's like matching a same process in a different kind of words or terminologies. It can be somehow just a synonym or a meaning of it depending on the process is being done. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening and watching this video. I hope I've answered these questions in relation to their topics and also to their main points of questions, desired answers. Thank you very much for listening.